me.
You got to be in tune with your star player. Welcome to the association, everybody, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz. Here we go. The veteran, 16-and-a-half-year NBA veteran Robin Lopez, and also 16-and-a-half-ish.
Yeah, 16
Yeah. NBA insider Chris. Exactly. Emphatic,
for tonight.
if you will. Christopher Haynes, always in the house.
You don't look like it.
We are.
I am.
We are. It's a big night because
Yes,
we're going to be
it is.
previewing tonight's Game 2 between the Spurs and the Thunder in Oklahoma City. I mean, they've got to be exhausted after double OT. And friend of the show, Vince Goodwill, he will be joining us just a little bit later. But let's start things off by discussing Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals last night in Nueva York. Let's talk about this Knicks comeback. Down 22, less than 8 minutes to go against Cleveland. Crazy. I always said, as I'm watching it, I was like, there's no way that the Knicks can lose Game 1 in the Garden.
Yeah.
Like, this is not on the board for y'all. But, Robin, as you were watching it, what did this game really tell you about how the series could really play out?
It tells me that that series can go 7 games.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Cleveland, they have so much offensive firepower, and that's what's gotten them to the conference finals. They have James Harden. They have Donovan Mitchell, but they also have an array of three-point shooting around 2 solid bigs.
I think the Minnesota, I'm wrong series, excuse me.
No, it's been a long
Wrong
year.
time zone.
The
It's been
New
a
York,
long year.
the New York Knicks coming off of that 11-day layoff. Remember, they had a lot of time in between before they faced the Cleveland Cavaliers. For 41 minutes, the first 41 minutes, the Knicks could not find a stride.
Right.
I felt like that layoff has so much to do with that. And it's interesting that the Cleveland Cavaliers pretty much dominated, had their way for 41 of the 48 minutes in regulation. And all it took was a 7.5-minute barrage of some Jalen Brunson mixed in with some big shots from Mikal Bridges and Landry. And they got back into it and then dominated in overtime. And that's ridiculous to think about it. For 41 minutes, you can be in control and lose the game in 7 minutes.
Barrage is the perfect way to put it. It was insane to watch it really unfold. But it was also another game where James Harden struggled to find his groove, too. What do you think needs to happen, Chris, for us to really see a vintage Harden in this series?
Well, I don't know that we'll have. Listen, James Harden is older. He's an older guy. He's still very productive. At this point, he's more of a facilitator, but he still can go out there and get you 20 to 25 points.
Yeah.
The problem, MJ and Robin, is on the defensive end, right? He is struggling on the offensive end, but he might be prone to continue struggling if he's asked to guard Jalen Brunson. And I know he's not being asked to guard Jalen. They're targeting James Harden. They're calling for the screen to get James Harden over to switch on Jalen Brunson. That was the key. Jalen Brunson had his way. He ignited the Knicks offense, and he was able to get by James Harden at will, and then they started sending doubles late. But at that point, Brunson was already in the groove, and that was his only 3 right there. That shot right there, that was the only 3 of the game. He was in the groove, which allowed for the Knicks to open it up and get the game into overtime and come back with history.
This is why I think the series is gonna go 7, because just as you pointed out with the Cavs, pop me kettle. I mean, the Cavs, if James Harden is gonna get going, I'm convinced of that. And when that happens, they're going to be targeting Jalen Brunson just as they target James Harden. So I think that's a wash there.
I like that. They tried that. They tried that a little bit, but yeah, I agree.
No, that's perfectly out there. I had a follow-up there, but you answered it in your own.
Oh, my apologies.
No, that was perfect. Ahead of the curve.
That's what they want to do on both sides. They want to target Jalen Brunson, but the thing is, like, Jalen Brunson is the head of the snake. So he's going to have a little bit more opportunities than what James Harden is able to, because, Donovan Mitchell is a beast as well. So, again, for James Harden, he may have to defend on the defensive end and also try to produce. Can he do that on both ends of the court at this stage of his career?
A question many people are asking, including us. All right, let's look ahead to tonight's Game 2 matchup in Oklahoma City between the Spurs and the Thunder. An epic double overtime win for San Antonio in Game 1. How much pressure is there now on Oklahoma City to win tonight and avoid going 2-0 headed into San Antonio, Robin?
Yes, Robin. I want to hear this, Robin.
Are you curious about my response?
Yes, go ahead, Robin.
I hesitate to say there's a lot of pressure because these are the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're the reigning champions. But They definitely will be behind the 8 ball if they're down 2-0 going to San Antonio for 2 road games against a team with Wemby.
Oof.
So there's a decent amount of pressure, I would say.
And look, this is the matchup we've been waiting for the entirety of the playoffs, right? For these two teams to come head-to-head. We got what we wished for, and man, are we entertained. On the San Antonio side, what do the Spurs need to do to keep the momentum for that Game 1 thriller? I feel like there's no lack of impetus here, of motivation here for both of them to be playing at this level, for sure, Chris.
Very motivated squad, the San Antonio Spurs, obviously led by that guy, Wemby. And we seen he felt some type of way about Shea hoisting that MVP trophy.
Yeah.
He felt like it should have been him. And he definitely made a case, and he made the case playing. But I know you didn't ask me, MJ, but I'm going to answer the question that you posed to Robin. How much pressure? Let me tell you, I'm usually not one to over-embellish, exaggerate.
No.
But this is a must-win. This is a must-win. Already in Game 2, this is a must-win. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you why. Number one, it's a must-win because San Antonio has had OKC's number all season long. Dating back to the regular season. I know we don't typically take regular season as to mean it's going to translate into the playoffs, but they clearly have a number to the point that Shea even himself said, hey, listen, they keep beating us. We have to acknowledge that they're a better team. So I think that's number one. Is why it's a Game 2. And then Game 2, sorry, as far as meaning that this is a must-win, the other thing is, who's going to guard Wemby? They kept going with a small nucleus. They kept going with Jalen Williams or Alex Caruso. They feel like small guys can, typically give Wemby problems. I saw Wemby struggle with that early on in the season. I don't know that that's going to be a problem right now because Wemby is committed. Like, if you're going to bring a small guy on me, okay, maybe I can't dribble around him because he's so tall, the ball is going to bounce high. But I can get back, by the rim and throw that lob. So I want to see how they're going to guard him. Chet Holmgren, I think, is going to have to start guarding Wemby. They like to have Chet.
I don't like that for OKC.
Yeah, they like having Chet help side. So we'll see.
He presents, Wemby presents this conundrum because beyond just like his freakish talent, he also has this ability that whatever team started to figure out against him, he can quickly come back with an answer. And all of them collectively can figure out, okay, let's put him here. And it doesn't matter where you put him. It's just a problem for opposing teams. And now I feel like he's at his Super Saiyan strength in the postseason. It's crazy. Meantime, SGA, he doesn't usually go a couple games in a row with a down performance. What's your expectation for the MVP?
He's going to come out swinging. Absolutely no question. I think, just as Chris said, he's going to come out there thinking they have to go get this game.
Yeah.
It's a must-win. It's a must-win. Robin said he's going to come out there swinging. We know he's going to swing. The question I have for you, Robin, is the punch is going to land?
I'm not sure of that. Do we know if Fox is playing? The Spurs without Fox for the first game.
Game-time decision.
Game-time decision. So that could be even worse for Oklahoma City. But you've both hit the nail on the head. This Spurs team is already savvy. They're well coached, even before bringing Wemby into the equation. When you have a player that's the nucleus of your team that's so versatile, so talented, so tall, it makes it incredibly difficult for the other team.
I just can't imagine that OKC is going to first of all, no part of that first game was easy. Not at all, which is why it went into to double overtime. But now, going into Game 2, I feel like every single game is going to see another level. I anticipate not just like going down the stretch, but more overtimes, maybe not every single game, because but definitely bonus basketball between these two teams. Like, they are going to take they're going to squeeze every amount of juice out of this lemon.
This has been thrilling basketball from both conferences so far. And these two teams right here, I don't know if we can say that they hate each other, but they definitely have respect for one another. And this is a team that values, both teams value each possessions. And so when you value each possessions like that, you're going to go down to the wire. It's going to be a game that's going to be close towards the end, which it could lead to an extra frame. But listen, I am having a ball watching these two teams play. This, in all regards, is likely the future of the NBA. These two teams right here. So we're watching the future go at work.
It's funny. I remember it must have been around December, about the time the NBA Cup was finishing up, and a reporter asked somebody on OKC, perhaps SGA, if they thought this was a rivalry, and he said no. Coach Fizz, I remember, he said no, it's not a rivalry. There's no playoff history.
And
so the fact that now we're seeing this, and I'm so excited for tonight's game. I'm just as a fan. I cannot wait.
I'm told right now, De'Aaron Fox source told me he plans to warm up. So he's trying to give it a go, but he plans to warm up, and he will make a decision after that.
Okay, that's huge, because with him listed as a game time decision, how important is it that the San Antonio depth that we've seen, really, they have to continue to show up at this point, Chris? And
that's huge, the fact that they did in Game 1, right? Without De'Aaron Fox, who is their second best player. He's one of their guys, one of the clutchest guys, and we have in this league. But it shows you the depth. And one guy who I've been so impressed with, Dylan Harper. Like, that guy's a stud. Yeah. Like, he is a real, true competitor. He doesn't get afraid of the moment, and he doesn't play like a rookie. He's this version for the San Antonio Spurs. He's this new era's version of Manu Ginobili coming off the bench. Obviously, he's left-handed as well, but a guy who can get his shot, who can shoot, create, he can do, and he can defend. Right. Tough-nosed guy, man. Dylan Harper stepped up so much. And then you got other guys who can just come and fill in and play the point guard position by committee. Stephon Castle is doing a tremendous job as well, and defensively. That's why SGA is having so many problems. They could throw multiple bodies at SGA. So it's been a treat to watch those guys come together when one of their main guys is out.
Yeah, we keep saying, especially for a team that's trying to repeat as champions, the target has been on their back the whole season. Most teams not even getting close to it, except for the Spurs. And now we see that culminate here in the Western Conference Finals. All right, we're taking a quick break, but when we come back, our guy, Vince Goodwill, he's going to join us, and he'll talk why Chet Holmgren should take on Wemby and get that responsibility. Okay, we got to talk about the offense, too. A little bit more on that when we come back here on The Association. The Association is brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. New users can bet $1 to boost their next. Helping us cover the amazing NBA Conference Finals, along with tonight's Game 2 between OKC and San Antonio, we have a very special guest, ESPN NBA senior writer Vince Goodwill. Welcome to the Association, Vince.
Hey, appreciate you having me. What's going on?
So good to see you. All right, so let's start with the sequel in the pair of Game 1 Conference Finals thrillers. Last night's Cavs-Knicks matchup. Oh, my God. Which aspect of the game down the stretch really stood out to you more? Because, I was focused on Jalen Brunson and the Knicks' ability to have that turnaround and turn a corner in the fourth quarter. Really a comeback for the ages, 22-point deficit. Or was it really the manner in which Cleveland fell apart there down the end?
Yeah, I tend to look at it the other way, MJ, because I've seen Jalen Brunson do this stuff late down the stretch of games since he's become a New York Knick. You rarely see a team and a player just drop the ball the way that Kenny did. Like, he acted like timeouts were rollover minutes back in the old days of cell phones. Like, he was carrying them over to game 8 or something like that. Like, it was just amazing. And I'll tell you something crazy. The Knicks had cut the lead to 12 before a timeout was called. And I turned to someone next to me like, oh, this is going to win this game. Because James Harden was getting torched. There was no help offered for him. He was doing nothing on the other end of the floor, and his coach wasn't helping. His coach was just standing there like getting a pedicure or something like that. I'm not sure what Kenny Atkinson had going on in the game. So, yeah, while we can amaze at Jalen Brunson and what he did, this was a loss by the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're not going to recover.
Yeah, no, I agree. These are the conference finals. You can't give anybody an inch. They're going to run with it, and the Knicks did that in spades. Now, the entire basketball community, of course, recognized how special Game 1 was between OKC and San Antonio. Tell me what's going through your mind as you watched we have to describe this as an instant classic.
MJ, you know what I started doing? I started seeing how far ahead I could book hotels in San Antonio for the next 5 Junes.
Smart.
Okay, because I feel like that's where we're going to be planted for the NBA Finals because of what Victor Wembanyama pulled up. And I know I talked about what the Cleveland Cavaliers did as far as the collapse. I'm not going to give the Oklahoma City Thunder much grief. Maybe I'll give Chet Holmgren a little bit of grief, but Victor Wembanyama had a game of the ages, like you said, an instant classic. When he pulled up from 35 feet that was a smart basketball play in addition to, hey, making sure nobody's patrolling the lane, making finishing over the top, and also looking at the players on his team. Like, those guys did not seem awed in the moment. It wasn't just Big Vic. It was also Dylan Harper. It was also Stephon Castle. It was also Champagnie. Like, all these guys that they've accumulated over the past couple of years, they've just been growing and growing quiet. And now we are watching them bloom on the game's biggest stage.
Yeah, the strength of the depth of that Spurs team has been really the key to their success all season long, and certainly now in the post. All right, so tonight's matchup, what are you watching for in the Spurs Thunder game?
Chet Holmgren. He was second in Defensive Player of the Year, right? Him and Big Vic don't like each other, or at least Big Vic does not like him. And if someone doesn't like you, it is your obligation to not like them back, at least competitively. So Chet Holmgren is going to have to guard his yard. And I've talked to a lot of older NBA players, retired guys, who say, you know what, if it's my guy, I'm not going to put 40 on Lou Dort or Alex Caruso. I've got to take the 40. And even if he takes the 40, maybe, MJ, it means that you shut down other players on other ends of the floor, but you just have to eat it. Chet Holmgren is too good of a ball player, and it's too much personally at stake for him to run from this. Even if your coach is telling you that you didn't take the matchup, you got to be grown and say, hey, I'm going to eat this matchup, and this is what I'm going to do tonight.
The first thing I put in the association group chat last night, or a couple nights ago, was Wemby can't stand Chet. This goes back so deep. Like, y'all got to go to the archives and see this before they were in the NBA. It is the level of petty that I really strive for in my life. But, Vince, we also know that you're a Detroit native. So we want to ask you a fun question here. If you had to pick one song from a Detroit artist to be the soundtrack of the NBA playoffs up to this point, what song are you choosing and why?
MJ, I thought about it because I heard what you guys were playing right before. Also, I was thinking about some Michael Jackson stuff. But I'm going to go Stevie Wonder, Superstition. Because I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in the first couple of weeks, the month of the playoffs, and it all boils down to superstition. One guy won't put one pant leg down before the other, or a shoe on before something. And he says, you know what, that affects the way that I play. And I think about all the things that have happened, carrying timeouts over, not wanting to play, not wanting to guard a yard. So, yeah, superstition leads the way in the playoffs.
Perfection. And I already know our audio tech Joe is going to have that ready to go the second we get off of this interview. I'm all down for superstition. We know athletes are creatures of habit. As long as everybody's washing their drawers, I'm fine. You know.
Thank
you already
Chuck.
know, Vince. Okay. Vince, we'll be keeping an eye out for all of your amazing work. Of course, you're always crushing it, and much more work ahead the rest of the playoffs. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Association.
Thank you, MJ.
All right, stick around with us after the break as Not on My Block makes a triumphant return